All right. Well, welcome to the Here Brotherhood podcast. So grateful to have Shawn Finnegan, who needs no introduction in this area and beyond. Welcome.
It's an honor, man.
Thank you so much for
Yeah, I've
coming
been
on.
wanting to get on this show for a while. I've been a fan of the Here Brotherhood since I first heard about it.
Oh,
It's
thank you
amazing.
so much.
You guys are doing incredible work.
You've been such a support to us and so encouraging, and that's just part of who you are. You have this energy of like supporting and helping and connecting people in such powerful ways, and we'll talk more about that.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd love for our listeners who maybe aren't familiar with you to give us the high-level introduction. I could rattle off all the businesses you've been a part of and whatever, but I'd love to hear from you, like your high-level introduction.
Yeah. So so I'm part of Tax Hive. Kevin O'Leary's a partner in Tax Hive.
Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful. I'm in
Shark.
Crumble Cookies, and then I'm in Swig now, and love those businesses. And I'm a girl daddy.
Nice.
So I have 3 girls, 2 married daughters, and then 1 20-year-old left at home.
Awesome.
Nothing better on the planet.
Amazing. And you've been an entrepreneur since what?
Yeah, so I was raised as with a dad who was a bookstore manager, and so with 5 kids. So like we weren't going to go to our dad and say, "Hey, give me $5." I was like always shocked when I heard about allowance for the first time. I was like, "How'd you get $5?" So like he just gave that to you, you know?
Right.
So like for me, I had to start at like the very young age. So I sold my neighbors anything I could get my hands on. So I sold pencils, candy, all that. So I like, and then I had this side hustle mom who started multiple businesses, and she was the side hustle mama. And so that was my example, and I had to choose between, like, do I want to know exactly how much I'm going to make down to the penny, like my dad, or do I want to be like my mom? And I chose that mom path, which has been filled with all sorts of headache and problems and challenges. And sometimes I'm like, I should have chosen that salary path, right?
Right.
So it's been a challenge, but I love business. I love it all.
Wow. And you've been through all the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So I'm sure there are many podcasts of you telling these stories, and we can talk about some of them. Or if you're kind of like, I've told that one so many times. What I would be curious about, and I don't know how deep you get into this with some of the other conversations you have that are maybe a little more business focused, but I'm also curious about what was the impact of taking those risks, of going through the dramatic swings of failure and then success and then maybe failure again, et cetera. What was that impact on you just for your own sort of state of mental well-being, of self-image, and relationships, like family? Because you're married, have 3 girls, you said.
Married,
and
3 girls.
And they were with you through a lot of that,
They
right?
were with me through the highs and lows and the peaks and valleys for sure. So my first business I started was in 2010.
Okay.
I didn't come from money at all, so I had very little in savings. I had a spreadsheet. According to the spreadsheet, it was going to be a live events business, going to promote, sell tickets, everything else. Spreadsheet showed me that I'd become a multimillionaire, so I was pretty stoked. I was walking around with my spreadsheet. I was a spreadsheet millionaire. So I know I have to launch the business, so I raised funds for the first time ever, and I raised $1.5 million from 23 investors. It was hard. It was like
that's amazing. Though.
I remember my very first yes was like the Tommy Boy moment, where he's like, I picked up my stuff to leave, and he's like, yes, I will wire you $250 on Monday, and I was like, I didn't know how to take a wire on Monday. I didn't know what to do. So I called the accountant. I was like, what do I do? How do I and then we worked it out. But 1.5 I raised. So I was like really stoked. Because I felt like I was young. I was like going to take the world by storm. 1.5 in the bank. So I was a CEO on LinkedIn now, and my family thought I was cool, and my my neighbors thought I was a baller. And then I launched the business, and everything happened in that 12 months after. Everything. And I wasn't paying myself, and it was like I was just hemorrhaging money. First event was a total bomb. All my direct mail got hit by a hurricane. So I had 30 people in the room set for 500, probably lost 250 in one event.
Wow.
And then it just on and on and on. And after the end of the 12 months, I'd lost all the money.
Wow.
And it was, you talk about the pain. There's a difference between the problem, right? My problem was I was a failure in business. But the pain was a physical, emotional pain that I was experiencing in that time of my life.
I'm sure, yeah.
And I remember those hard moments where I couldn't afford things. Your daughter's like, hey, I want that. We went to Bear in the Big Blue House, and I couldn't afford, going and buying my daughter that. And it was painful. All those things are just such a painful time in my life. And I got to the point where I had $2,500 in my bank account at the office, and I couldn't make payroll on a Thursday night, which means Friday that was due. And that night I didn't sleep at all. I just sat there and stared at my ceiling. You know what I mean? You talk about the emotional. I didn't feel like I was engaged with my family. I didn't feel like food tasted bad. Everything. I was literally, hindsight, it was like going through so much depression and scariest time of my life.
Yeah. Wow. And
there's more to the story for sure. So I wake up the next
we
day.
gotta find a resolution to this.
I'm praying a lot of this time. You know, I'm like trying to exercise as much faith as possible.
Yeah,
and
sure.
But filled with doubt. It's like a lot of doubtful kind of prayers, I feel like. And I'm praying for a miracle on Friday morning. A miracle doesn't come, so I go to lunch. I remember just like, hey, what do I do? And I just stand up because I was like, hey, I can pay people 90%. So I go stand up to go back to the office and tell everyone, like, hey, I can't pay you. And it's not their fault.
Right.
And I had this pounds per square inch pressure because there's all these people at the office that had faith and confidence in me and followed my banner. And they jumped on board with me.
Right.
And they're like, hey, this is the person I want to follow and I'm going to join. And they put in 40 hours that week and I could pay them for 30.
Yeah.
And then my friends and family and the embarrassment of that. And all of this, and then I had 23 investors that gave me 1.5.
Wow.
So I felt like
so many people felt like we're riding on this. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So I go stand back up to go to the office. I get a phone call from my controller. She's like, hey, Shawn, I want to let you know that I was digging through the safe. I found $3,000 in petty cash. What do you want me to do with that? And that was enough for me to make payroll. So I was like, hey, hang on to that money. I screeched the tires, went back, picked up the cash, went to the bank. I deposited the bank, cash is king. I immediately cleared physical checks, and I went back and I presented each member of my team the check.
Wow.
And then that afternoon, I was like, I'm going to make a list of all the reasons why I've been a failure, and I had a big list. It was big. Operations, marketing, sales, everything. And my number one, as I rank ordered it, was I stopped building relationships in business, probably because of out of pride or ego, because I was the high-flying CEO that had it all figured out, and I stopped relying on other people, and I stopped building a team, and I stopped building relationships for that year. And that was my rank order number one thing, by far.
Wow.
That was my biggest problem I determined that I was going to fix.
Wow. And I mean, I see it now. Like, obviously, I didn't know you then, and but that has become a superpower of yours, is connecting with people and connecting other people to each other.
Yeah.
And you've done that with us too. You've been like, hey, I met this guy who's doing this thing.
Yes.
You got to meet Mike and John and the guys, and like, you just have become this master connector, and that's amazing. I think that's probably what you're best known for, maybe aside from the entrepreneur success that you've had after all that, right?
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious, how did you manage the recovery from that? And I don't mean just from a business perspective, but like relationships, relationship with self. Because you know, you were talking about the impact of that, just feeling like I'm a failure. And all these people have been counting on me, and we barely pulled off this. Some miracle happened, which is incredible.
It is.
You know, I mean, an answer to those doubt-filled prayers, right? like
sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What was the recovery like from that?
Yeah. So I determined right then and there I'd become one of the greatest at building relationships, because I'd realized because of that. And I also feel like during the time that year, I also felt like I had a mask on, which I felt like this was my mask, and down here is where I really was, which is a son of a father who made limited income in a really poor family, and I really didn't belong in the big kids club, and so I think I acted a lot during that time too.
Yeah,
I felt like I was afraid that people would find out who I was down here, and I'd put on this fake stuff up here.
Yeah.
And I hate the term fake it till you make it. So I feel like I faked a lot during that time. And so I had to reevaluate, and I had to look within inside, and I had to say, hey, what's my ownership in all this? Because I also was making excuses. Oh, the economy. This is 2010. This is like during the bad times. So I was like blaming it on that. And it wasn't until I actually looked internal and I said, hey, this is my role in all this. And what happened is I actually reached out to a couple of people in my contacts, and all of that mask was gone. And I sat down with people, and I had real, probably in a year of not having real conversations, I started like really telling people what was going on, and for the first time probably in a year.
Wow.
And I partnered with two guys in that process that became partners of mine in the business, and they brought all their resources to the table and all their relationships. And then from that, we went on a run over the next 12 months. I was able to pay back all of those investors plus interest.
Wow.
And I took the business back, and we went on this crazy run, but it wasn't because it was me. It was because of the relationships I started building. So it was like me. So ever since then, I'm like, I do real stuff. I hate the fake stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the superficial stuff. It's like the more real I've found, the better relationships and the longer lasting relationships I've built.
Oh, I mean, yeah, amen to that. I feel like that is one of the reasons I think, John and Justin and Jason and I initially felt pulled to do the work that we do is for deeper, real, authentic connection, because it feels like there's a deficit of it just in our professional lives, yes, but just in general and with other men. And there's this real tendency for us to show up ego to ego or mask to mask. And, and we're kind of evaluating each other based on our projections, based on our masks, right? And then the connection that happens there only goes so deep, right?
That's right.
And then we create these spaces now at the retreats where it's like, there's no need for a mask here. Like there's no agenda. There's no, I'm trying to get something from you. There's no transactional nature.
No.
I think that's a huge challenge. And maybe maybe we can talk about this a little bit, because you are building relationships that are in business, but you bring authenticity.
Yeah.
How do you deal with, is there sometimes that tendency towards like the transactional and the what value do you bring and what value do I bring, and how do you do that with still feeling like there's a genuine authenticity?
Sure.
Because I think both can exist, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So tell me your thoughts on that.
The book, The Go-Giver, it's kind of like the handbook of this.
Cool.
Basically, the book talks about how if you're going to ask anything from anyone, you got to provide them more value.
Yeah.
So if you want, let's say you're asking for 10,000, you better bring that person, 50,000, 100,000 in value in the relationships you have. And if you always try to just lead with value, that's where you bring a deeper relationship in business. Like if you're just trying to take, and you're an energy vampire and you're just trying to pull it and make it that transaction, it won't last.
Yeah.
You might get a one or two, but why would they stick with you unless you're bringing tons of value to the table? Totally. And I'll just say I went to one of your retreats and there was no mask in that. Dude, those conversations were so real. And I remember that morning we're staying in the desert and we did that hike. Yeah. And that was such a spiritual experience. Like you just are such a great leader with those men that you were leading the way up this hike, and it was like early in the morning. It was before the sun popped out. And I remember hiking up, and it was kind of like, I think everyone's pretty quiet because you're just feeling that moment, right? And then,
I think we actually prompted everyone to just have like, let's not chat on the way up. Like let's have like a walking meditation kind of thing. That's right.
And then remember we got up to the top of the mountain, and it was like the sun,
incredible sunrise.
Just the beauty and the feeling of that, and then seeing how you interact with men was like so inspiring to me. Like the impact of Here Brotherhood and what you're doing is like, I'm a huge fan. I've been a huge fan since the very beginning of hearing about Here Brotherhood. I just love what you guys do.
Thank you so much. And okay, I want to go back into we talked about the relationship or the relationships in business. What about just the personal relationship aspect? I imagine there was a lot of strain. You said that you weren't super present at the time.
Yes.
How has that evolved or changed over time, and what's worked for you? Yeah. And what hasn't worked?
Yeah. So I'll give you a quick example. And I actually told this story when I was at the Here Brotherhood. I got up for a minute. I had a partner during this time, and the partner he used to, at one point in his life, he was an alcoholic, and I've actually talked to him about this, so he's okay with me talking about it. But he hadn't had a drink in years and years and years, and this will just illustrate kind of my mindset at the time as well. But during that time when I'm struggling and everything else, he comes on board, and he's a partner, and he hasn't had a drink for a long time. We go to the Hard Rock Hotel. He has a drink one night, and then things just start spiraling out of control for him. That one drink, and I did everything in my power to keep him from doing that. And so he does that drink, and all of a sudden just life spirals out of control. And we're doing events at the time in Vegas, and I remember him just getting just sloppy drunk during the day, and then at night at dinner I'd lose my patience, and I'd be like, I'm going back to my room, and then I'd sit in my bed and I'd think about him being face down in the strip. So I'd get out of my bed and walk around in the strip and try to look for him, you know what I mean? And it's a really, really challenging time, and he was the kind of guy that was such a good soul that he was like that first tier friend that if my family actually had a problem and it was 2:00 in the morning, he'd be the one I'd call.
Wow. Yeah.
He would stop what he was doing. And so he was going through this sickness, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I turned my back and brought him in, and we hugged it out. And I said, but I'm going to pay you a certain amount of money every month. We just got to end this thing. So things are good. We're paying him every month. And I just said, hey, the only thing I ask is if you don't compete with us, just go get yourself help for the next 12 months, and I'll pay you lots of money every month. So over the next several weeks, he tries to reach out to me, and he tries to say, hey, let's go boating. Let's go hiking. Let's go do this. Yeah. And I just ghost him. I remember him coming to the office trying to meet with me, and I didn't want to meet with him. It was just like the madness and the craziness I went through. I was like, I want this behind me, and I just didn't engage. So anyways, he launches a business, and he competes with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm going to stop paying him. And we start this lawsuit, and it was the beginning of, I felt like this darkness was injected into my veins where we started this thing, and then all of a sudden it got bigger and darker, and it got fever pitch where I was going to sleep thinking about this guy who at one point was my best friend, and I was waking up thinking about him, and I felt like some hatred, which I'd never felt in my life. I felt like real venom for this person, and we fought it out for a good year. And we do these yelling it's like totally outside of my norm.
Yeah.
And I remember one time we were yelling it out, and I said, hey, I just don't have any more pain for you. We solved it, and we got it buried, and we gave a settlement, and we got through it all. And then it wasn't until like a year later that I just still I felt like I was trying to look inward and seeing what was my role in all this, because I'd always thought it was his fault. And at the end of that year, I started making a list of all the actual things I did to him and what my role was in it. And I realized that I started the whole thing. What if I would have responded to him? He needed a friend at the time to go boating, and what if I had gone with him? We wouldn't have gone through all that. And I started taking ownership and accountability for what I did, and I called him up, and we talked for 4 hours straight. And I told him all the stuff. I told him everything, and he told me his stuff, and then I felt like that was like my experience in life of true forgiveness.
Wow.
Where we felt. And so that's an example of during that time when I felt like I was in the right and I did all that fighting, and you look back and you're like, why did you do that when this guy he would have been there for me at any time I needed him.
Yeah. Wow. It reminds me of this quote that I've shared a few times. I don't even know who to credit it to, but it is that to forgive is to release a prisoner and realize that the prisoner is you.
Oh, that's so good.
Isn't that good?
That applies to me so much, man.
That's powerful. I mean, you went through that experience, and then the freedom that you felt in the accountability and the forgiveness. You've mentioned a couple times like these introspective moments of making lists. That's like journaling, I guess, is another way to put it. Is that a tool that you go to often?
I do. I'll sit down and I try to put my thoughts out there. Yeah. I try to do it. And I love what you said earlier about that interaction between two, and like what's our role in everything, and holding ourselves accountable to what our role is in this life, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
No, I'm getting these themes that I think are so powerful from you, from your stories of accountability and authenticity, and those two things combined. And then there's like grace in that, and then miracles and relationships and connections that just compound and facilitate growth. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've read the book Wild at Heart. It's a non-denominational Christian book. So
yes. John Eldridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that scene where the two guys meet at church, and the interaction's completely fake. This guy's having an issue with his marriage. His daughter's like going through drugs, and they meet at church, and it's all this fake stuff. It's like, yo, brother,
things are great.
Lives are great. Oh my gosh, I'm so blessed. And they actually don't leave neutral. They leave even worse off because now one thinks that he's the only one that's struggling.
Yeah.
And if they actually took the masks off, like you said, mask meeting mask, if they actually took that off and had a real conversation, actually, no, I'm going through some stuff with my daughter.
Yeah.
Turns out this guy's actually had something similar, and he has really good contacts, and he has really good advice and perspective.
Yeah.
And there's an appreciation for that. It changes the whole level of connection. So then you leave that, a true connection, with a deeper understanding and a deeper appreciation, and you leave much more positive than you do this fake stuff.
Totally. Yeah. And elevated and with resources and next steps even of like you said, it's like, oh, I know somebody who, or that's it's empowering. It's powerful. I'd love to hear a little bit about raising 3 daughters.
Yeah.
And I've heard you speak a little bit about this before, and it just resonated. And so if you don't mind sharing some of the things that you've learned as a girl dad, like what have they needed?
Yeah.
How have you been able to support them?
Yeah. So I pretty much have brothers. I have an older sister. She was a lot older, so I didn't really understand but I knew the dynamic of boys. They always beat the crap out of each other, and you just do boy stuff and play hard. And so in my mind before I had babies, I was like, well, I'm going to have like a starting lineup in basketball and these sport athletes, and you know that's how you're thinking. And then all of a sudden, I remember that first time I went in and got the ultrasound, and we're looking at it, and I see that's a little girl, and I'm like, I was terrified actually.
Yeah.
I was like, what do I do? What if I mess this up? Like, I was a 23-year-old dad. I was like 24 is when I had my baby. So I was like young.
Yeah.
So I was like, how do I handle this little creature? I have no idea how to raise a daughter. And so I met with one of my mentors. His name is Brian Tracy, and he was a girl daddy. And unfortunately, he didn't give me the answer. I was like, hey, what do I do? Give me the steps. I want to know. And he's like, he gave me like 10 books to read, and I was going to college at the time. So I was like, okay, I'm going to squeeze this in. And I read the 10 books.
Wow.
What I found is that the father actually has a real direct correlation with the daughter's confidence. So the father can actually build that daughter up, and things change for her psychologically, physically, everything else because of the confidence of the father in that daughter. And I determined right then and there that I was going to be that dad that was going to build up these little girls on a daily basis, mentally, spiritually, physically, everything I was going to do, everything in my power to be the guy that was going to build up my daughters and not tear them down. And I think it's a mistake a lot of men make, and it's maybe out of just they don't understand. They're like, hey, I have this little girl. I better tear her down and make her really strong and tough for the world. So they tear them down constantly. They never build them up. That girl doesn't get the affection and approval from the father. They go out and try to find it in the world. They start getting attention, and you hear about these daddy issues, and I think that's where it starts.
Totally. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think you're spot on that sometimes there's this misconception, and I have fallen for this too, where I think like I need to be the one to like correct my kids, but it comes out as just criticism, you know, and I think there is a loving way to guide, to instruct, to give feedback, whatever, but it so often can easily just flip into criticism, and then there's that lack of acceptance, and then trust drops.
Yeah.
And then like you said, they're like, well, if I'm not getting that approval and validation as I perceive it from my dad, then I will find it somewhere else.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And that's often can easily turn into negative kinds of validation and approval especially from other boys / men as they grow older, right?
100%.
So such a powerful concept, and man, and it's just reminding me of some of my my efforts to repair. Because here's the other thing I want to say about that. Sometimes we do get it wrong. Right. And there's grace in that.
There's grace.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that's I've had to learn and let go of some of the judgments of self around like, man, I said that thing out of frustration but there is always repair. And there's an amazing TED Talk. I can't remember the speaker's name, but it's about repair and how powerful repair is. And it's basically like repentance too.
Sure.
That's the same concept.
Yeah.
But I've had many occasions where I have needed to go into repair and be like, hey, I'm sorry that I said this that way. And I feel like there's a major generational thing where back in the day, it was like parents did not admit faults to their kids, you know?
Right.
And now we're in this era of like, actually, that's so healthy in parent-child relationships. And I love this concept my friend shared with me. She said, I can't show my kids how to be perfect, but I can show them how to repair and repent. And that's like gold to me.
That's really good.
I heard that in a time I really needed it because I felt like I was just being impatient with it was my little boy actually, and he was just kind of pushing my buttons all the time. It felt like, you know?
Right.
And I was kind of stressed with work, and we were living in New York City in this small apartment, all kind of crammed in the same space, and he was just high energy and demanded a lot. It felt like, and sometimes I would just, I would, you know, get frustrated. I would react in ways that I didn't feel like were a true reflection of how I felt about him or who I am, you know, but it would just come out in a moment of frustration or anger, or especially if it seemed like he was harming in some way my wife. And I would just get this total protective instinct. And then
we've all been there.
And then I'm like, she's number one, and like, you are the problem. And all of a sudden, like, he's my enemy. And I'm like, this is my little boy, you know? Right. And I heard that message around that time of like, I can't show my kids how to be perfect. I can show them how to repent and repair. And one other memory with that, I went to church one Sunday after just a rough night. Like, he was not sleeping through the night. I felt very entitled to my sleep. Like, I need my sleep. And if I don't get it, man, I would just feel so angry about it. And he was putting me to the test on that, you know? And so we had this rough night. I had been frustrated with him. We had a hard time getting ready to go to, it was at church, right? It was a Sunday. We get to church, and I'm just standing there feeling like bags under my eyes, like I'm feeling like cloud over my head, just like, this is freaking hard, you know? And I had heard sleep deprivation is like a form of torture in some, you know?
I believe it.
And I'm like, I was feeling tortured by this during this stage, you know? And out of nowhere, there's this woman, this girl named Jessie in our ward, just this amazing, like, spiritual powerhouse who would like get up and sing. What's the song? Amazing Grace, with all this soul, and you know, she's just this amazing woman in our ward, in our congregation there. And out of nowhere, she just beelines, walks right up to me between meetings, you know, doesn't even say hi. She just looks at me and she goes, "You're a good dad." That just like hit me to the core. Because I was not believing that at the time. I was like, I'm failing at this.
For sure.
And she just spoke that truth in a way that, I mean, it like gave me chills just recounting that story. It was incredible. So anyway, love what you said about being a parent and how to create that relationship with daughters, especially. There is something about the father-daughter combination that's really powerful and really needed.
And a lot of so I did that post, and I think it was seen by like 30 million people.
No, which post was this?
The post about building up your daughters.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So it was tons of opinion. I read thousands of comments about it.
Wow.
And there was a lot of people that said, no, you don't need to build up these daughters. Why would you do that? That's just making them weak, and completely fly in the face of that. It's like, in my experience, and also just how specific and what that means to your daughter and how you do that. Like, I was talking about physical features, like physical features should a father talk about? And I can't, like, for instance, my daughter's 20 and she has the most beautiful smile. And if she comes in the room, she can light up the whole room. So that's one of the things I like to tell her is like, point that out. It's like, your smile is so beautiful. You know what I mean? And you light up a room, and all those things are ways, like little ways that you can build up those daughters. And one of the things I'm doing right now, because I have older daughters now, and so I try to write a letter about each daughter as much as I possibly can, but It's not that often, but I'll sit down in a journal and I'll just write all the thoughts I have about that daughter right now. Because I have one that, they have their own lives and they're busy. But I like to write down a whole letter about my adult daughters right now. And I take a picture of that and I send it to them, and it's all the details like, oh, what you're doing in your career is so amazing and this, and I saw you training that. And I try to make all that list and make sure that I don't stop giving them feedback and building them up.
That's so powerful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. Okay, I want to come back a little bit to the business and entrepreneurship world, and just thinking of the guys in our community, because we have a lot of guys that are ambitious and they're trying things, and some are working and some are struggling, and just any advice or words of encouragement you would like if you were just sitting across from the table from them right now, and they're like, hey, I'm trying to figure this out, and I've got these struggles, I've got relationship at home. Like what words of advice or encouragement would you give them?
Yeah. So especially entrepreneurs, the one thing I've seen more common than anything, and I go to iHub and I donate my time and I do mentoring at iHub. These are newer entrepreneurs that are trying to get things off the ground, and it's a lot of stress, and they're going home to most of them are going home to their spouses and saying, hey, this thing's going to hit. It's not hitting now. We're not making money, but I promise this thing's going to go. Right. And they're trying to convince that and keep the peace. And it's a lot of pressure on them. And what I found is it's just action is what is a power move. Right. So sometimes they do so much analysis, and it's analysis by paralysis, and they keep breaking everything down. But what they're going to find is if they actually go do action, and it's a start that usually stops these young entrepreneurs. That's what it is. So if I pull out my book and I say on this date, I'm going to go get 10 customers, and I'm actually going to go launch this thing. I'm going to go do action, which is put you in a power kind of position.
Yeah.
The more you can spend in that space of actually going out and doing it and getting it done, the more it's where your focus goes, your energy flows. Yeah. A lot of times they just get stuck, and they're super intelligent, and so they've analyzed everything. And I've heard so many of them say, I was like, well, why don't you just launch? And they're like, well, I'm waiting for my colors of my logo to be just right. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the little details, they're getting caught up in their head, and that happens. They get on an island. They think I got to do this. So if you just go out there, go knock doors, go talk to people, go get your product in front of people, go make it happen. That's a power position.
Yeah, I love that. Just what's that one small step, or that deadline, that date of like, we're going to do this by then.
Yes.
And even if our colors aren't right, like we're still going, right? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear how you think about failure and success, maybe even how you define those things. What do they mean to you?
Yeah. So like, I do think failures, everyone's like wants to avoid failures. They're miserable.
Yeah.
It is
hard.
It is sucky. They suck. But what I've found is like, I remember years ago, I had a corporate job. And I was I was pretty young, so I had at least 2 little babies, and I got laid off in that corporate job. And I remember thinking the world was over.
Yeah.
Because all my life had been taught that I'm supposed to provide for these little kids, and I can't do it. And I remember beginning let go, and I went out on the corner, I called my wife, and I was like just bawling my eyes out, like, I have no idea. I'm just terrified of the unknown now. It's like fearful, and
like, what do we do?
Massive failure. Like, I just got let go, and my wife's like, "Let's go make it happen. Let's go figure it out. We'll go make this thing work."
Wow.
And then of course another door opens that you can't see at the time. But if you were to go to that person standing on that corner, call my wife at that time, and try to convince me that it was a good thing, I would have just like, are you kidding me? The whole world's like, I had an incredible gig with salary and benefits and all that's gone. And you're going to try to convince me that's a good thing.
Right.
But it's the truth. It was like another door opened.
Yeah.
And I look back and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad. It's like so many of these failures, you're like, oh my gosh, that was the best thing that happened to me, because this door opened. And in hindsight's 2020, but going through that is really scary and painful. But failure is just another piece of data.
Yeah.
You figure out what didn't work, and then you move on. And to me, the new doors have been always better.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you think about success now? Like, how do you define that, or what does it mean? What does it mean to you?
I used to have a measuring stick on literally wealth.
Yeah.
And now
did it move on you?
Yeah, it always moves.
It always moves,
There's
right?
always another rung on the ladder, by the way.
Right.
You think you're at a point and you're like, wait a minute, I can't live off of this. You know what I mean? And there's to look up. And I think right now for me is like I got this little girl and my whole perspective's changed. Like for me, I want to spend as much time with her as possible. And I learn every day from her. She's just like, I'll come in, I'll have a bad day. She's just like super optimistic little girl. And just as an example, like we're supposed to be the teachers, but we get taught by our kids on the daily, right? Yeah. And recently I took my daughter and my dog on a walk at the park. And we're coming around the tennis courts closer to the freeway, and we hear this loud collision, this big bang. And we're within maybe 100 feet of these two cars just munch each other, just hammer. Big collision. And this lady gets out of the car, and she doesn't seem to be physically hurt, but she's visibly shook. I mean, she's like crying. Yeah. And she sits down on the sidewalk, and she just starts bawling. And we can hear the police coming in the distance. And I take my dog, and we have to pass this lady who's sitting on the sidewalk. So we pass by her with my daughter and my dog, and I keep walking down. And I was like, turned to her. I was like, hey, sweetie, are you okay? That was traumatic. I mean, that was wild. And I look back, and she's not there. And I'm looking around, and this little girl is like sitting, she's sitting next to the lady on the sidewalk, and she has her arm around this lady, and she's saying like encouraging things, like it's going to be okay. And I have that image stuck in my mind because she didn't tell me she was going. She just like went immediately and sat in bed next to this lady in her time of need and comforted her. And those are the kind of lessons that it's like the images you get from your kids, like make an impact in your life to become a better man, a better father, right? Those are the kind of things that I learn from my kids on the daily.
Wow. That scriptural teaching, that phrase of become like a little child, like
amen to that.
Came strong to me when you shared that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's true.
It's a beautiful story. Thank you. I'm curious about this. You talked in the beginning about kind of measuring success based on finances. Like that's where I think many people go. They're like, this business will be a success if we make this amount, or at least we're profitable, or whatever. You grew up in an environment where, money wasn't in abundance.
Yes, for sure.
And what's your relationship with money now? How do you think about it? How do you feel about it?
So so when I was a kid, if you asked me who I wanted to be when I grew up, it wasn't an astronaut or anything. It was like, I actually wanted to be a business builder from the beginning. Yeah. And I'm actually really pretty sharp, and I can talk to people, and I'm good with people, everything else. Yeah. My dad, on the other hand, is like the most calm, even keel bookstore manager. Yeah. So, and he also didn't make a lot. So I felt like I had this little bit of a chip on my shoulder about my dad. And I always thought my dad, he should have done better. He should have made more money. He should have gone out and do it. For years, like that's how I felt. And then my dad finally retired as a bookstore manager, and we rented out the Blue Room at the BYU Stadium, and all the family came in, all the kids, grandkids, everything. Massive room of people. And they played a Green Day song, and they had a slideshow of my dad. And my dad's with like his grandkids and his wife and my mom. And it was like I had this strong impression hit me that was basically your actual hero isn't, these big business builders that don't have good relationships. It's actually your dad. Your dad is the guy who you need to pattern your life after, because when you get closer to the end of your life, if you can have someone show you a Green Day video with all of the slides and you have that many people still love you and want to be with you, I think that's the measure of success.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. We've mentioned faith a little bit during our conversation too. what has faith meant to you on your journeys of ups and downs? And now you've, as far as business goes, like you're kind of in a place of like you've arrived, like at least it seems that way, right? Like I'm sure there's still daily problems and there's still things you gotta problems to solve, but like nothing as turbulent as the years in the beginning, right? So in that place, because I feel like often we are driven to faith in our struggles, right? When things are like up against the wall and we're like, now like I need that, even if it's doubt filled, I'm gonna pray, or like know. And then when things become more stable, maybe a little more predictable, a little more cushy, that relationship with faith can change. And I'm just curious what that's been like for you, or what is your relationship?
So there's an actual tie to the Here Brotherhood in this too. Faith's always been important to me. I wish it was a graph up and to the right, but it hasn't been. You know, there's like roller coasters I've had where I felt like I've been very faithful, and other times with less faith. And I wish I was much more consistent. And
real. That's real though. Like the ups and downs of that. I appreciate you sharing that.
So a while ago, it was like 3 years ago, I think. I have a friend. His name is Carl. He is a chaplain. So he serves for the Blue. So he's actually a chaplain for the police officers.
Cool.
Very successful guy, but at night he donates his time as a police officer to just sit in the cars with the policemen. And a lot of times he's just spending time with the police officer who needs to chat with someone and needs to bounce things off of someone. And he does an incredible work. He donates hours and hours and hours as a chaplain. He can pray to any God and any religion. But one of his duties is if someone loses a family member, these police officers actually don't like to be the ones knocking on the door because it triggers that family. Every time they see a policeman after that, they get triggered. So they would rather have a third party go to that family. And a lot of times that's not available. When the chaplain's available, they like that chaplain to go knock on that door. Most likely they're not going to see him again. And so Carl came into my office about 3 years ago, and he looked kind of worn out and tired. And I was like, dude, how's it going? He's like, well, truthfully, this week I've had to go to, I think it was just in Utah County alone, he had gone to 3 to 4 families and told the families that the father was no longer there.
Wow.
And that the father had gone up into the mountains and disappeared and was no longer with them.
Wow.
And he had to knock on the door. So here you got a wife sitting in there and these children that he has to tell this information to, which is like the hardest, worst news that they've ever had. And I remember getting this strong impression, which was, I don't have the skills like you do to help men, walk through stuff and do your breakouts and everything else. But what I have the skill to do is to get people in the room.
Yeah.
And I felt this strong. It's one of the strongest impressions I've had. You've had a few impressions in your life. You're like, I know for sure. And this was one of those. And one of them, my impression was, hey, how do I find the right groups out there that can help men? And then how do I get men in a room and facilitate them? Because it's not okay for any of us to have a bunch of guys that are okay in the graveyard, right? And no longer with us. I was like, that's not okay with me. It's not okay with any of us. That we are the ones that should do something. And my role in that is like, I need to go find people, and I need to get those people, and I need to hook them up with my friends so they can help my friends, so we don't have to lose people.
Yeah.
And that's where I started reaching out. So I reached out and I reached Curtis. I said, hey, who are so I went on a mission to find. And of course he says, Here Brotherhood. So I got to know you. I got to know the other groups. And when I saw what Here Brotherhood was doing, I was like, I need to be a part of that. I need to help. I need to help just bring them to that and get them the skills that you guys have been blessed with and the gifts that you have to really engage with these men. So that was my whole role in the Here Brotherhood thing. That's why I sought you guys out. That's why I did a Zoom call with you. And that's why I'm like such a supporter of the cause, because I really believe that you're saving that family from getting that knock on the door from a chaplain with the worst news they've ever heard.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. No, I've said it before, you've been just an incredible connector and support. And And there's a passion that you have in this space, and it's obviously linked to being a connector and seeing the power of relationships. Is there anything else that's kind of driven that for you, like motivated you to be like, I want to help people? Is there any story or personal reason that you're like, because I think we're all driven to support and do the things that resonate with us for various reasons. Obviously, you shared the story that you did that was part of that driver. Is there anything more to that, maybe from your own life or just personal experience? Or
so I started the X Room. You've been at it.
Yeah, that's right.
So I started 4 years ago, and I just I was like, I believe in. I love having a seat at other people's tables on these connection events, but I was like, I want to create my own table.
Yeah,
that was like 4 years ago. Started with 25 people. And then it's gone up to about 300 and something people. It's kind of madhouse. I've had you on the X Room podcast, everything else. And in the month of May, I'm going to see 1,500 people.
Wow.
That took me like 5 years to see 1,500 people. So I'm trying to live it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, I've seen incredible things happen. Like I did an X Room 2 years ago. I invited my friend Colin House to come. He's like 6'6" South African dude. He's an incredible human being, but he is an introvert. And if you want to, the definition of purgatory for him is sitting in a room filled with strangers. So I invite him to the event. He sits down and he just wants to sit there. He does not want to stand up. He's like, he's an incredible human being one-on-one, but like, so I said, hey, the challenge now is to stand up and meet 3 to 5 people. You don't recognize their face and get to know them and see how you can work together. So he's like, oh, freak. So he stands up, he finds a guy, Ryan Bowen, and he builds this relationship with him, and they start to get to know each other. And Ryan helps him fund his company $10 million in the last 3 years, and it helped launch his company. And now he's doing incredible. Like, and I always think about that one experience. Like, what if he didn't show up?
Yeah.
What if he didn't get out of his comfort zone to go meet someone, and how valuable that conversation. And now they're best friends too, by the way. They still work together. They're best friends. His business is cranking. I saw him like a few weeks ago. I didn't know that story until he told me. He's like, oh, by the way, I met. And I was like, that's your like 10 million and you're cranking. That's like so rewarding to me.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I feel like a lot of people, if you do business together, you become best friends. And that's my thing. Is like, hey. I bet you a lot of the people in your phone that are your best contacts, including your wife, are like, you did a transaction, but it was followed by a lifelong relationship. So I like transactions if it follows a lifelong relationship, right?
Yeah.
On the other side of that, you're texting them, talking to them, going to lunch, you're coordinating, you're doing things together, you become best friends.
Totally. So I love that. Yeah, amazing. Well, you're having a huge impact for a lot of people through all the you're in a lot of stuff. I mean, multiple businesses, and then connecting people like crazy. And it just comes so naturally for you at this point, and it's something that you have cultivated. Like you talked about people's skills and their superpowers. Like, that's what I think of with you is just being the ultimate connector. And
thank you.
And then you see the fruits of it, and there's like fulfillment and regenerative energy in that. So you're like, yeah, I want to keep doing that because that story that you just shared happened, and what's going to happen at the next one, right?
That's right.
It's just so amazing. Yeah, this amazing momentum, fulfillment. And that was actually the question I wanted to sort of wrap things up with, is just about where you find fulfillment. And I'm for fear of repetition, I mean, that's one. Is there anything else that comes to mind when you think of where do you find fulfillment in life?
Yeah, so I just think it's connection. At the end of the day, I went to an event in Park City. It was all about longevity. How do you live longer?
Yeah.
Not a surprise to all of us. It wasn't like a magic, some vegetable or some antioxidant. It was literally relationships are what keep you around for longer.
Wow.
You want to live to be 100 years old, you have to have good relationships. And at the end of the day, that's what this lifestyle, like, what's the one thing you're taking with us? It's like that relationships you've built here. So that to me, more than ever in my life, is perspective right now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Great note to end on. Any last thought, question?
Yeah, so I'm doing an event.
Okay.
So I was going to talk to you about this in June. I'd love to have you speak at it, is what my ask.
Oh, amazing.
So it's called Jesus, Cars, and Barbecue.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
You've done one of these already.
I've done one of them.
Okay.
And I thought, who would be great to get up in front of these men to help them? And I'd love to have you up.
That'd be an honor.
Next month.
That'd be amazing.
There you go.
Awesome.
So we got it on video.
Sweet. I just need to check the date because we do have our next retreat is in June as well. So
I will. Right now, I'm nailing down the date.
Okay.
So I'll make sure I coordinate with your schedule.
Sweet.
Because I'd love to have you. I think you're so good. You really are so good talking to the masculine. And I've been to your breathwork class. I can't even. Like the one we did, remember that festival we did where it started raining out there?
Yes, right during the breath. But it was welcome rain because it was hot out there and it just felt like refreshing and beautiful. Yeah, it was so cool.
One of the dad bods was there. And during that time, I don't know if you heard the story, but during that time, he had this strong vision of him with his children, his family, and it really helped solidify in his mind his personal relationships in that moment. It like literally changed the course of the next year plus it's been. So I just love what you do. I'm a big fan of Here Brotherhood, big fan of you, man.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, and where can people find and connect with you and just keep tapped into like the events you're putting on and everything you're doing in the community?
I think I'm the only Finnegan Shawn out there. I'm the only Finnegan. I'm not too many out there, so you can find me. I'd love to connect.
And social platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram,
all of the above.
All of them. Okay, on. Okay. Well, appreciate you, Shawn.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, loved
appreciate
our chat.
it, Mike. Yeah, thank you, buddy.